Hi, and welcome to this sort of expertise exchange. And today we're going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about some of the risks of AI, some of the opportunities of AI, and some tips. But before we do that, let's introduce ourselves.
Hey, I'm Mike Berry. I've had a long career in marketing, starting at Procter& and Gamble and then working for a whole load of big advertising agencies. And these days I'm a bit of everything, consultant, educator, author, and no one can avoid AI. And that sounds like I'm opposing it. I think it's fascinating. I think it's as big a change has happened to marketing as was digital, and it's not stopping. So we're in interesting times.
I'm Martin. I've been in marketing now for 35 years. So Mike and I's approach to AI is coming from a marketing background. So I've been in it from about 35 years. And like everybody in marketing, you sit there and you think about, a couple of years ago, you think, blimey, if I don't get into it, I'm going to be left behind. I'm just completing my PhD, which is all about declaration of AI and AI ethics. We're both coming at this from a marketing point of view, so that's the way we're going to approach today. It's not AI from a technical point of view in that sense. It's AI mainly from a marketing point of view, but we'll cover all sorts of things. So as I say, we're going to talk about the risks, we're going to talk about the opportunities, and then we're going to come up with some tips at the end if we've got any tips to share, any things we think you should be doing. So, Mike, if you were going to start off with thinking about, right, what's one of the main risks you see for businesses or marketing or anything? What's the main risks of AI?
People ask me, why are we even talking about AI? Because we
Yeah,
can't avoid it, would be my answer. We've been talking about our careers in marketing. If we were starting now, it would be a very different landscape already. And ChatGPT was launched in 2022. Artificial intelligence was around when I was at
hello.
university, and it's suddenly taken off. Technology's reached what they call a tipping point. I think that ChatGPT either knowingly or accidentally started something, and now we're in an arms race. It's kind of crazy times.
I find this kind of like odd groups of people. There's 50 people who are 50 and older who don't want to get involved in AI because they don't think they have to. And then there is, I don't know if you found this, I found in kind of younger people, younger from our perspective, so sub 30, there's a whole tranche of people who do not want to use it. They object to it on some sort of moral basis. Have you found that?
Yeah, and famous last words, I'm pretty sure that they're going to lose. The genie is out of the bottle. I think
Yeah.
the best that we can do as a civilization is to control this technology and make sure that these tools are literally that, to help us be better humans and to help us do our jobs, which is what tools have always been for. But, back to your original question, Martin, my view of the risks are far beyond marketing. It's
Yeah.
like we sentient machines. Can they really be intelligent? We can debate these words, but there is a risk that they basically think they don't need humans, and that's kind of sci-fi. But some are saying that it's not that far away.
Yeah, I personally don't believe that's ever going to happen because I can't see Google's AI talking to Facebook's AI talking. They're not going to talk to each other to join together to take over.
Some of this is really scary stuff. And
Yeah.
what scares me, if anything, does it's when the experts say we've got to be careful because they've seen into the total perspective vortex.
Yes.
And I'm fearing to some extent that the current situation is an arms race. It's every company trying to get to a better version of artificial intelligence before every other because of the profit opportunities. Marketing and business have always been about profit opportunities, and it hasn't been too bad, in my humble
No.
opinion, so far. But we could be now dealing with a technology we've never encountered before, and that is a little scary.
I kind of divide the risks up into societal, ethical, and business. And if you think about societal, there are massive risks with using AI in marketing. And I am just as guilty of them as everyone else. I mean, we do a lot of training with InPD, obviously. And the thing that always comes out is the way AI image generation, for example, is reinforcing stereotypes and
Yeah.
reinforcing prejudices. And there's a really good book, which I recommend everyone read by Laura Bates called The New Age of Sexism. And that talks about how science technology is impacting women more than it's impacting middle-aged men like us. And that is very strongly coming across because you go into Midjourney, you create an image, you select the image you like, you are reinforcing the stereotypes of what people should look like at all points. That's a big risk for me.
Yeah, exactly. Are we perpetuating stereotypes? Are
Yeah, we are.
we ingraining prejudices which maybe should be questioned? Whatever we can get out of AI, what we can't get out of it is anything completely new, which no one has
No,
ever thought of. So I'm
no.
still of the school that these are very capable tools that have been programmed by humans, and of course, humans have their flaws as well.
But marketing, in fairness, we have been reinforcing those stereotypes for years. It doesn't make it right. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but it is AI is actually in a way reflecting what's the way we are. not,
Yeah, and
it's going to make it worse, but it is reflecting what we actually are.
exactly. And what CMO is going to say, okay, it's my duty to change society and make people question their prejudices and tell them things they don't want to hear. They're more likely to say, well, I've got to sell some product or I'm going to be fired next year.
Yes.
So there's no
Yeah.
incentive for a chief marketing officer to change the world.
And the other issue, the other risk with it, I always see is the environmental risk. I did read, I think it's true, that every question you put into ChatGPT uses 1 pint of fresh water. I don't know whether it's 100% true, but it does make you think. It does use water. And we're going to use up all the power in these data centers, aren't we? That's a big risk, actually, because we're asking it stupid questions like I do. We all ask stupid questions. There is a consequence to asking that stupid question.
Yeah, and that sort of thing. Ask yourself, who is going to stop that? The world
Well,
government,
nobody. No.
Meta, Alphabet, no one either can do it or has an incentive to do it.
No, with it empowering smaller businesses and it's allowing smaller businesses to do things, which is one of the big opportunities. They're using it more, which is generating more, which is using more water, which is using more electricity, which is compounding the issue because then they're adding into it to make it even worse. There's all sorts of risks.
That's really environmental and far, as you said at the beginning, far beyond marketing. So,
yes, it is. But we add to it, don't we?
We could be accountants or lawyers or politicians, and we could be having a conversation about our own sector and how that's being disrupted. So, this is going on all over the world and in every part of society.
The other big risk for me is the people side to it. It is going to take jobs. I think the only people saying it's not going to take jobs are the people who've made lots of money out of it and are running it and don't need to be threatened.
Working as an educator, I see this happening right now. There are people that I work with who are our age and are saying, well, no, ChatGPT is cheating. We must somehow stop the students using it. Well, good luck with that.
It's not going to happen.
The idea is that students, particularly business students, you're trying to prepare them for the real world on their first day in their job, which they've worked hard and they've applied and they've got their degree. The boss isn't going to say, no AI tools, don't use Perplexity, don't use Firefly, don't use Synthesia. They're going to say, okay, these are the tools to which we have subscriptions. We want you to be fully efficient in your new role as a graduate trainee.
Yep.
Do you need any more subscriptions? The more, the better, because we're only hiring 10% of the people we hired 5 years ago.
It's going to take jobs.
It actually is taking jobs.
Yeah.
I would go so far as to say right now.
Look at what Facebook wants to do. They want to take agencies out of the mix. So you want to do an advert on Facebook, you'll basically go in, tell it what your website is, and it will create the visual, create everything for you. You don't need an agency. Now, my concern with that is it'll be a race to the bottom because Facebook will be trying to get you a 0.9% click-through rate, whereas I'm trying to get somebody a 3% click-through rate. It'll be a race to the bottom, and their agenda isn't the same as yours.
The point of view of an aged creative director would be, no, you're all kidding yourselves. These are only machines. They can't have that magic thing, a big creative idea.
Yes.
I'm personally not so sure.
I'm not sure. And actually also for 90% of businesses, you can get a long way without being creative, really.
The word creative has long been debated, hasn't it? Martin, you and I have worked in agencies with people whose title is creative director, creative group head, head of copy, head of art. They're all changing massively because the client is saying, hey, we don't need to pay you for writing 3 posts for Instagram or X or Facebook because we can do it ourselves. We've got an intern and we've got all these tools and it is fine, thank you. We'll just take $5,000 a month off the fee.
Yeah, that is happening.
They can't stop that. So, agencies are thinking, wow, okay, we've got to look at our bottom line. How many people have we got? What's our business model now? And we're seeing it, seeing big agency mergers. It's commercial reality. And if you are the CMO, you've got a responsibility to produce the marketing collateral, the content at the lowest possible cost. A lot of it does not require a big idea. Maybe you have an agency for those big ideas, but then all the implementation, all the web banners and skyscrapers and blog posts, they're all done and they're done quickly and they're good enough.
I mean, Sam Altman, founder of OpenAI, said that 95% of all things that you pay strategic people, creative people, agencies for can be done on AI. And I'm not sure that that's right, but he knows more than me, so he might be right. I think if you're going to be ethical and you're going to do this job right, you have to understand some of the risks and some of the consequences of what you're doing. But there are also opportunities.
Yes.
What do you see, Mike? If you're going to give a business, if you're going to tell them where the opportunity lies, what would you think?
Yeah, I'm talking to a lot of marketing directors, marketing managers, CMOs. And from their point of view, someone is offering them a way of doing what they have to do faster, cheaper, and well enough. So if I were in that position, I would say, great, let's just get these tools. I need to learn how to use them. I need to be able to hire some people who know what they're doing. Let's get on with it.
I do like the
But
phrase well enough. I think well enough is
yeah,
a really good phrase because AI is a probability machine, isn't it? It goes out and delivers the most
yeah.
probable answer. So
Hey,
well enough is a really good answer.
the big question will be when the big ideas can be delegated to the technology. I'm not quite sure when that's going to be, and that is a bit
No,
scary.
that's true. But I would argue for 70, 80%, whatever percentage of businesses, the big idea is less relevant than the small ideas. And the small ideas are the ones that they do day to day. And that is a massive opportunity because every business now can do what previously the very big companies could do.
Leveled the playing field, as they say.
Completely leveled the playing
So
field as
you
well.
no longer have to have access to the big budgets, which previously were the domain of the top ad
No.
agencies and the biggest clients. Yeah, and there is still a role for judgment. You
Oh
can be
God, yeah.
we can be a creative director, and the junior people bring in their ideas visualized on a layout pad, and you say no, 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 yes, that's the one.
That's the
And
one that's
it's
good. Yeah.
the analogy is that the tools are bringing you those ideas, and you're saying, okay, now do it again, please, mid-journey. This time, make it more like this, and change
Yeah.
that bit and bring that in. And they'll say, yes, master. If you divide up digital marketing into the different bits, every single one is being impacted. SEO, pay-per-click, email marketing survives, but we can do it better with AI tools. Social media, of course, and of course, all the platforms themselves are using AI in their algorithms. There is an argument that AI will become pervasive.
Yeah.
Might not be as disruptive longer term as it is right now. Maybe this is the weird time when things are having to change, but it will
It is a
become
weird
like
time.
oxygen or
Yeah,
electricity.
it is a weird time. But I do take a step back to one of the risks because I'm dealing with a client at the moment and they're saying we want to automate things. We want to use AI to automate our marketing tasks, which you can do. And so what we want to do, they're saying, is take away the boring jobs that people do. There is the problem of that. You take away my boring job. My boring job is where I make my living. Maybe it's because I'm getting older. I constantly am thinking of the risks.
Someone has to think about those risks. Do you think people have to learn? So is
Yeah.
there a market for training?
People have no idea. We do a lot with InPD. We do a lot of AI parts of the courses. 80% of people we talk to don't have a paid ChatGPT account. They're using the free one. Well, they need a paid one. They need to learn how to do it. They need to learn how to
get
prompt
hands-on.
engineer.
I agree that senior managers who may not be actually using the tools in the medium term need to get hands-on right now.
Get hands-on, yeah.
In order to get it. Otherwise, they're just, repeating what they've read on a blog post somewhere.
Yeah.
But get hands-on, make a few mistakes, try and use it in your job. Every now and then you have a moment of wonder, don't you?
You
And
do,
you say,
yeah.
wow, that's good. How did it know that? The whole thing of remembering what you did before, that's quite a big improvement on a search engine, isn't it? You're not coming to it new every time and having to use a special form of words. You're talking to an intelligent friend who has no agenda other than to help you.
They also have no empathy, but that's another issue.
If you want friends, maybe they'll develop different sorts of AI for that.
If you were going to give a few tips to people, if you're going to say to people, right, you're in business, these are a couple of things you should do.
I would say the first thing is learn as much as you can.
Yeah, get on the bus.
Exactly. And drop your barriers, be vulnerable, jump on and use the tools. Yes, it will take time. And you might say, I haven't got time to do this. I would respectfully say you haven't got time not to do it.
Yeah,
time is running out.
Yeah,
you're either on the bus or you're not.
I think we'll use it every day. Go in and learn. And then if you've got a problem, go into Gemini, go into ChatGPT, ask it and do it every single day. You do it all the time.
I would agree with that. And also question everything you're doing, which takes time that you don't like doing, and see, well, hang on, is there a way I can delegate this?
Yeah.
You've got a willing, capable assistant who never tires, who never stops, and who never questions you, except respectfully to get a better prompt. That's pretty valuable, and it's available right now. Also, be aware that things are changing really, really fast. 6 months ago, we'd have been talking about DALL-E, and we'd have been talking about names that don't exist anymore. ChatGPT 5 is a lot better than the previous version. Don't expect these tools to be here in 6 months' time, but the new tools will be even better.
The other thing, bouncing off that, I always say to people that just accept that you can't keep up. I know that sounds a bit defeatist, but you cannot keep up. I subscribe to Taft, which I would recommend everyone do. There's an AI for that, Taft. Every day you get a newsletter and it lists the latest AI systems. There's at least 10 every day.
Yeah,
and I can't keep up.
They change,
You can't keep up. So don't try to keep up. The number of people I talk to and I say, well, what do you listen to? What podcasts do you listen to? Don't listen to any. There's a really good one, which I recommend to everyone, which is called AI Explored by a guy called Mike Stelzner. But he interviews somebody every week who knows more about AI than you or I do.
Even
much more. Loads more. And I listen to it every week, every single time. I sit there and I think, I must do that. I learned something. And once you start delving into it, you find other ones, don't you? On AI Explored the other day, he was talking about VO3, Google Video Production. production.
Very powerful. Experts are telling me it's really, really good. Well, it should be.
Yeah.
Google's throwing money at these
Yeah.
technologies because they're existentially threatened. All the big guys are looking at the little companies and saying, wow,
Yes.
maybe everything's going to change now. We better make sure we're in there fighting. They want to be on the bus too.
I think AI should be fundamentally boring. You should make it part of the boring part of your business. That's the way it gets embedded. Because we do Suno, we do it in the training, music generation. Good fun. You have a good laugh. You've got to think, what's the purpose of it, though, haven't you? What is the purpose of creating a song on Suno? What's the business purpose? Where does that add to your fundamental business? You've got to try and think of, how am I going to use this in a boring, day-to-day way that helps me get my job done?
As a tool, as you say.
As a tool.
Tools have always done. Creative guys used to use layout pads and magic markers.
Now we don't.
Someone invented the Mac, and they all embraced it, and so they should, because it makes the human more creative. This is an exciting series of new tools. As long as they remain as tools, I don't think we have too much to worry about.
And we have talked about bias, and we have talked about some of the issues. I do think, as a tip, I do actually think you have to be aware of the risks and the issues with it. It is not this magical tool that will just make everything better. And you have to be aware. You've got to use it, but like every tool, you've got to know what you're doing. You've got to know what the impacts
100%.
are.
We can't switch off our ethical side, our moral side as business leaders. We can't just say, hey, well, it's all different now. We'll just leave AI to do everything. Because you are then delegating something which is your responsibility.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully that's of value to people.
And debate will continue. What's for sure is that it's going to keep changing, and that's exciting.
And we both agree, the main thing you got to do is get on that bus.
Yep. And we don't know who's driving the bus, and it might be a self-driving bus.
No, absolutely.